Hey all, Wawa here, and this will be the last chapter of my journey to Bulgaria. Today we are talking about the capital of this country, which is Sofia.
The grand finale of my journey, the capital of Bulgaria, Sofia, or as it used to be known as Serdika, called by the tribe Serdi that used to live in their times. And is actually a city with a 1,000-year-long history that's coming all the way back to Thracians, then of course Byzantium, Roman Empire, Turks who used to rule this country for quite a long time. Then of course there were few periods of independence up until of course this point, and then there were different regimes like communistic regime, the remnants of which we can see all around the city. And it is indeed the city of the contrasts, and for me it was a little bit also a city of inflated expectations, because my friend who is coming from there, Dimana, is a huge fan of her own hometown, her home city. So of course I really wanted to match my expectations with the reality. And Sofia is actually quite a young capital. It's only 140 years being the capital of Bulgaria, but there are many places that I want to show you around, so let's do this. So there is this beautiful park around that building that seemed to be like something about theater or something else dependent on the entertainment. That's what I feel like. So let's see what it actually is. Well, Wawa from the past guessed it right. This is the National Palace of Culture, or as it being abbreviated in Bulgarian, NDK, is the building that was created back in Soviet times of this country. And in my personal opinion, this is one of the most beautiful sites across Sofia in terms of the old communistic architecture that I know that's still kind of being frowned upon by many people because of its geometric style, which is not quite what used to be done in 19th century Europe. Opened in only 1981, so being just 40 years old, the NDK is a place that hosts not only cultural events but also conferences, and just could be used for many other functions like exhibitions, for example. And it is the largest such complex in the whole southeastern Europe. So this is something also for Bulgaria to be proud of. Located next to quite a busy street, it still has quite a beautiful park, a couple of fountains, and the bridge that goes over the highway that connects it with other parks. Noticeably, the city center was mainly developed during the Bulgarian revival times, right after reclaiming the freedom from Turkey, and of course, Soviet times as well. The classic 19th century style buildings, they are scattered all around the city center, and they were made thanks to a German-born appointment monarch that actually was decided by the elites of Bulgaria to come to power after the revolution to reinstate the monarchy. We still can see a number of those sitting in the center in the areas between the railway station and Endika. Like many other former Soviet states, Bulgaria in general, and Sofia in particular, is still looking for a balance between combining the communist architecture, paying respect to the buildings from the older eras, and of course mixing it with the messy design code of little shops and forms of street art like graffiti and what I like to call uncontrolled advertising. Feels just like home. And this is exactly the feeling that I got from being in Sofia and in Bulgaria. That it really feels like I'm walking somewhere in Ukraine, in some another big city, just like Kiev or Kharkiv. I definitely can see myself walking the streets of Vitosha Avenue or something like that and feel like seeing the same old landscapes and architecture, types of buildings that I have seen before and are so familiar to me. And I feel like the general atmosphere and vibe in Sofia was super welcoming, and it felt a little bit indeed like a homecoming for me after living in the western part of Europe for a long time. And it doesn't end with just the way surroundings are looking and the atmosphere is feeling. It also, of course, goes all the way down into other, for example, political things. In a way, I was seeing how people, for example, protesting against certain decision in their government, and this is definitely something that I was seeing back home and not, for example, in the Netherlands, where the protesting movement is way different from what it's here. Next to presidential office, we see the old mansion of the king of Bulgaria. Getting back to governmental institutions, we can see that they're all actually made in the famous Stlin Empire architecture style. You know, this is the style that was used back in the communist times to proclaim the superiority of the communist structure and just, at times it feels like these grandiose structures are really the temples of bureaucracy. And the idea behind those was similar to churches and cathedrals back in the days, so to make a person visiting it feel the greatness of the god, or in this case of the system. As you can see, I have been staying in quite a central place called Serdika, this neighborhood. And in the proximity of Saint Sofia's statue, there is quite a peculiar place. Basically, this is where the temples of three confessions are meeting. So there is a synagogue, there is a mosque, and there is an Orthodox church. Or actually two, there's also one that still going all the way back to the Turkey times. Besides that, there is also gorgeous historical building of Central Market, which is still active and serves its purpose for all the merchants and people who would like to buy some fresh vegetable meats, fruits, and whatsoever. This particular place of the center is still point of interest for many people of Sofia. For example, here, people usually come to grab some water coming from the mineral source, as well as we can see the beautiful building of Sofia's History Museum, which also used to be the public bath. However, if we walk further down the streets in the direction of Lviv Bridge, we would see more of buildings from 19th century, mixing up with some of the ones that are renovated. Wouldn't say that they are modern, which, also, of course, make the picture and the image of Sofia's center quite peculiar. However, I realized that after filming my trip in Sofia, I had to come back to see this. After experiencing the most suspenseful guard shift in my memory, I had to take some break. And now we went to experience Sofia by the night. And it was the right time to go and take a look at Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, which is an iconic site of the city. So this impressive religious construction is right in the center of the square, and also surrounded by different galleries and museums and some other religious buildings. And what a fool I was for thinking that this being an iconic site indeed for city of Sofia that carries the name of the saint, that its actual name was supposed to be Saint Sofia Cathedral. I was quite surprised, trying to explain to Mana that I really want to visit Saint Sofia Cathedral. She was looking at me like at a lunatic. Well, in the end we figured it out. To celebrate that, we went to a rooftop bar with a great view at Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. And no, we haven't drank the whole night. It's just a lazy transition. So after that, I feel like it is really important to mention that Sofia is really the green city and has quite some parks where you can take your dog for a walk or just enjoy your time with your family and friends. And this is probably the closest you can get to the nature in the city. Alas, my trip was coming to the end and I had to hop on a plane and fly back to the Netherlands. So this concludes my little trip to Bulgaria, and it has been quite a journey. I've visited 5 cities throughout just
10-day period, which I feel like quite okay. It doesn't feel like I wouldn't say that I visited half of the country. I've seen it all, but it's quite a significant part of what tourists would usually see, and probably even more. So I hope you enjoyed this little trip together with me. And if you haven't seen previous videos, feel free to check them out in this little playlist that I'm gonna add right here. And yeah, I hope that you will have a great day. And as always, let me know down in the comments if you have any remarks, questions, or something, anything, pretty much. Yeah. Thank you very much as usual. And yeah, my hair and mustache looks different this time because it took me a month to finish this video. Bye.